Alright, so my name is Dave Hakkens. First project I'm going to talk to you about all started because I saw we have a lot of electronic waste, and particularly waste from our cell phones, because usually you just throw a phone away after a couple of years because it's getting old. So I thought, well, maybe I can do something to change or help and reduce the amount of waste we generate with this. So I had an idea for a modular phone and I made a video about it. I will put on the video to give you an idea what it was.
They get old and become worn out. But usually it's only one of the components that causes the problem. The rest of the device works fine but is needlessly thrown away. Simply because electronic devices are not designed to last. This makes electronic waste one of the fastest growing waste streams in the world, and our phone is one of the biggest causes. So this is a new kind of phone. It's made of blocks. Detachable blocks. They are all connected to the base, and the base connects everything together. Electrical signals are transferred through the pins, and two small screws lock everything in place. So if, for instance, your phone is getting a little slow, you can just upgrade the block that affects the speed. Or if something breaks, you can easily replace it with a new one, or update it with the latest version. Another great thing about this is, you can customize your phone. So let's say this is your phone, and you do everything in the cloud. Why not replace your storage block for a bigger battery block? If you're like this guy and love to take pictures, why not upgrade your camera? Or if you don't care about any of this stuff, you can keep it simple and get a bigger speaker. You can choose the blocks you want, support the brands you like, or even develop your own blocks. PhoneBlocks is built on an open platform where companies work together to create the best phone in the world. To set up this platform, we need to get the right companies and the right people involved. They will only get started if there is a lot of interest in a phone worth keeping. So this is the plan. To show them there is an interest for this phone, you need your voice. You can donate your social reach on the website. We gather as much people as possible. On the 29th of October, we send out the blast, all at the same time. Spreading all your voices to show the world there is a need for a phone worth keeping. The more people involved, the bigger the impact. Please visit phoneblocks.com to raise your voice and spread the word. PhoneBlocks, a phone worth keeping.
So I made this video about a year ago, and that was basically all I had. I had a video and a website and the idea of this phone, and I really wanted to have it made, but it was my graduation project. I didn't have a lot of resources to actually make it. So I thought, let's just put it online and hopefully gather a lot of companies and people to support this idea, and hopefully someone would make it. So I just put it online, and it really, within the first 24 hours, it was seeing like 1 million views, and it spread it there all over the world. So published on CNN, some French interview, Huffington Post, like lots of these things. Here I am on Dutch television talking about it. And there was even this company in London who made posters and spread it in London. I had no idea they did this. They just sent me the picture, and I was like, thank you. And I had this guy from the Black Eyed Peas saying it was a good idea. So basically it sort of worked. I put it online and people liked it, and I got lots of emails from companies. And what I really liked about it is that after we published the video online, we got other companies showing modular concepts as well. So for instance, the Chinese brands showing a mock-up of a concept modular phone, or ZTE was thinking about how we can make a phone that is upgradable. And another one was Google with Project Ara. And these were by far the most serious in actually developing this phone. So as PhoneBlocks, I really liked it. because that was the whole idea behind this. Make sure that companies are going to work in this direction. So I was flattered that this became a thing. So I went to Google and so they asked me first if I wanted to work at Google at our project, but I preferred to stay independent because I had a lot of supporters behind PhoneBlocks and I really didn't want to work for Google, but with Google. So until now, this is like a year ago, and they have been working on developing the phone to make sure it actually works. And this is one of the latest updates, so now it still looks very prototypey, but it actually boots now the phone and they can plug in components. So the modular phone is actually coming to life, which is pretty cool because like a year ago it was just a YouTube video. And as for PhoneBlocks, we really want to keep pushing this project ahead and try to inspire companies to work on modular electronics. So the phone was an example, but as PhoneBlocks we would really envision that all of electronics are upgradable and repairable. So if your chip or your television, you can also plug it in your laptop or in your washing machine, for instance. With the Internet of Things coming and realizing that everything is connected to the Internet, everything contains a Wi-Fi chip. What if a small Wi-Fi chip breaks? Do you throw away the entire thing? So we really try to keep the PhoneBlock community alive, gather a lot of people and companies behind the idea of modular electronics, and keep inspiring the industry to work in this direction. And that is PhoneBlocks.
So Dave and I studied at the same school in Eindhoven, and PhoneBlocks was his graduation project. And my graduation project started in Uganda. So for people who don't know where Uganda is, it's in Africa, right there. And we heard about a story about Joseph Kony. He had a rebel group with almost 60,000 child soldiers. So there was a big war there, and we heard after 2009, a lot of people returned back to the villages. But they were really damaged, and they didn't have work anymore, and they were really hurt. So me and my friend from the Netherlands had the idea, well, let's just book a ticket and go there and see if we as designers can do something for them. So we just hired a car, drove took a plane to Uganda, drove to find the victims and look if we could interview them and look what happened, and then see if we can do something for them. So we found a group of people and set up a meeting. We asked them what happened and how we could help them in what kind of way. So they told us that they didn't have work anymore, because everything was messed up. And we found out that a lot of people wanted to start their own company, but they didn't have the experience, they didn't have the money. The government won't help, so it's quite tough to start up your own country, of your own company there. And then together with them we came up with the idea, wouldn't it be great to start up a small-scale production? And then we found out that a lot of people still have a lot of scars in their faces and they have pain, so would it be great if we can make a small-scale production of the ointments? So ointment, the cream they can use on the scars to soften the skin, and also sell it on the market to gain some income. So we went looking for a pharmacy and we found out that the ointments that they already have there are quite expensive. So then we came up with the idea, let's make a starter kit, like a kit we can give to them that they can start their own company to make ointments. And in this kit are all the tools you need, like manuals, equipment, business plan, tools, all the things you need to start up a company. So first we had to find out, is it possible to make ointment with local ingredients? So we went to markets and we went to all kinds of places to look for beeswax and calendula flowers and all the ingredients you need to make this ointment. And then with a big suitcase of all these ingredients, we went back to the Netherlands to a laboratory, to a lab, to find out if it's possible to make this ointment. And well, it was quite easy actually, because they had shea nut butter. It's made from a nut, and it's really useful to make ointment. And we found beeswax. It also was a thing you need to make ointments. So after a lot of testing, it was possible to make a really good ointment, which they can use on their scars and even sell on the market. So after that, we had to find a way how to which we had to find a way that they can produce the ointment themselves. So we set up we designed some tools. So, for instance, you need the stove to prepare the beeswax for melting. You need to press flowers to get the oil out, and then together with the set you can make the ointment. And at the end we made actually a whole starter kit. So this is the box that can be produced locally, and it's easy to put it all through the country. So the locals can set up their own small-scale production there. So in the starter kit are all the tools you need. There are also user guides and some small videos, and the manuals are quite easy to read, so we have a lot of pictures, so we are learning them step by step how to make the ointment and how to sell it. Also includes a business plan and even packaging, so they can even sell it on the market. So the idea of this starter kit is that we're now looking for NGOs, so the NGOs can sell the starter kits for a small amount to a group of people, and they can start their own production. And after 1 year, they can pay back a little amount of the profit back to the NGO, and can work with that. So now this project is still kind of halt because we have some problems in Uganda. But in the meanwhile, we tell like, if a starter kit for ointment can work, it can also work with other projects. So currently we're working on several starter kits. Actually, Single Spark is now a company, and they're working on several starter kits. So now we're making a starter kit for the production of soap in Kenya, and for instance in Malawi we are working on a starter kit for beekeepers. Thank you.
So another project I worked on was plastic, and I basically started working on this topic when I heard that just less than 10% from all of our plastic is recycled. So I was quite surprised by that, because we use a lot of plastic, so where does this all go? Basically it goes into the landfill or the ocean, which is a waste. So I thought, why isn't this stuff recycled? Or why? Because it's really easy to recycle, you just need to heat it and press it and then you can use it again. So I had no idea, I just wanted to learn. So I visited a lot of companies in the plastic industry to understand the complete cycle of plastic. So I went to companies where they produce the raw material, where they produce products, where they assemble it, even the companies that build the machines to make plastic products, to transportation, to the waste stream where it ends up in the end. Just so I got a clear picture of what's going on with plastic. And basically, in a very simple drawing, this is the plastic cycle. So it starts here at production, then they make, for instance, a cup, and you go in the shop, you buy it, and once you're done, you throw it away. And about 80% ends up in the landfill, 10% is burned for energy, and the 10% is recycled. So the recycling basically means they have a lot of different kinds of plastic, they need to sort out which type it is, then it goes to another company where they wash it, then it goes to another company that shreds everything into small pieces, and that is extruded again into plastic. So the recycle way is pretty complex, needs a lot of transportation, a lot of different companies involved. So if something goes wrong, they can't really know where it goes wrong because you have a lot of steps. It's a complex process. So my idea was basically, okay, let's skip all that, and if you have a product, you're done with it, bring it to Dave, and I will turn it into something new, which you can buy. So my plan was, I built a series of machines to recycle. They work with recycled plastic. And those three machines, the extrusion, rotation and injection molding, are basically industry standards. So the entire plastic industry uses them. Only those machines cost like the price of a house, so it's really expensive. So I wanted to make machines that people can just make themselves locally, and so it's easy to start gathering local waste and turn it into new products. And so the goal was to make a blueprint of, for instance, this is the rotation machine. Make a blueprint of it so that people can easily replicate it and build it themselves. With all the information, how to use it, what kind of things you look at, blueprints for the dimensions, a 3D model, how the technology works, or the heating system and the elements and all that technical stuff, and some images of my machine, how I made it. So this one, for instance, is made of an old oven, which you can just find. And I started making them. Yeah. So I'm not a technical guy, but I have some experience. So I really wanted to keep the machine simple, with basic tooling that in each city or place is doable to make. So in the end, how I would envision it is that you have someone in a like a FabCafe, for instance, would build a set of these machines, and they would place it here, and then people from Taipei can bring their plastic waste. Here it's shredded and turned into new products. So for instance, with the extrusion machine, you could also make filament for the 3D printer. And then here the plastic is processed and turned into new objects. And the goal of this project is really a start. So these machines are really version 1.0. And I share them online so people all over the world can build them and give feedback to me. So we sort of develop together and create better machines in a very open source way. And well, here's a little video that you can see how the machines work. So the products you saw in the end were basically what I created with it, but in the end the machines worked with molds, so you can make, no, not whatever you want, but you can make other things than I created it. So the goal for me was really to create the machines and not so much the final product. So I really shared it with the world, and hopefully other people would make their own stuff with it. And that's it.
Okay. So my last project was quite a heavy topic with war victims and child souls, but I also did a more funny project. So I again went to Africa, to Malawi, which is here. It's a really small country, and we were asked by a company called Sacramento, who is famous of his bicycle ambulance. Actually, what they made is this thing, so you can put it behind your bicycle, because a lot of pregnant women have to walk for like 1.5 hours to the hospital to deliver a baby, so most of the time they were too late. So that's why they developed this bicycle ambulance, and then they got a kind of stuck because they didn't know what to make anymore, so they asked me and Pim, another guy from Netherlands, to come there and to find some interesting things they could work on. So they said, okay, maybe it's interesting to do something on playground equipment, because children doesn't have anything to do there. So we did some research in Malawi to find if there already were some playgrounds or slides, and the only thing we could find was this one. And actually, at the end, the slide looks really painful, like if you see the angle around there. So we saw children sliding. It was, yeah. So we thought, oh, that's a good thing to improve. So what we did, we made a lot of sketches and came up with some cool ideas. And the nice thing about Malawi is that you have like all these local markets where they sell old metal and used stuff, and we kind of like to reuse materials. We got inspired by those guys. They had their own gym at the market, and it was really nice because they made their own gear to work on. So they made this thing of old tires. So we're like, oh man, that's so cool, we should do something with that. So we thought, like, can we make like playground equipment and use the materials from the market, because they were like a lot. So we always were discussing with those guys, like every day where we came there was like a whole group of Malawians talking about the price of springs, and but it was always really funny. So at the end we made just a couple of renders, like things we could make from used materials, so old car springs, and in the middle on the top you see like a circle around made from old car axle, and we made a tire rim from old tires and all kind of other stuff. So at the company who asked us to make this thing, they had like some guys working in the workspace, and they didn't used to work with technical drawings, so we made like this really easy kind of IKEA drawings to help them to produce. But we were kind of scared, like, we didn't know how to do this, and we just said, grab the drawing, grab some materials and just go make it, you know, design is also trial and error. So they were kind of afraid to start, but like at the end of the day, they just make this, like a really nice prototype, and a nice thing around the place where we worked, there were a lot of children. So every week we invited like a school of children to test our stuff. And also in the workspace we had to try a lot of things. And also we made this one from an old car spring. So even like the older guys didn't ever played in the playground, so they were really happy. So 1 month before we finished like around 6 from those projects. So we made molds, technical drawings, so the idea was when we leave they can still produce it and like sell it. But so after 1 month, we were going home in 1 month, then there was this hospital, and they were like, oh cool, there are the 2 designers in Malawi, we should do something with them. So they, sorry for this really bad picture, so they asked us, could you turn our parking space into a playground? And we're like, yeah, sure, still have 1 month, right? So we got inspired on a market by these children playing in this old car, like pretending they were driving the car. So yeah, that would be really cool if we just buy a car and turn it in a playground. So we had this idea of making a car into a playground. So the director of the hospital was really enthusiastic, from yeah, that would be cool and it would look nice, so we were also really enthusiastic. But then the next day we bought this car, which was really crappy. So we brought it to our workspace, and all the guys were there like, man, those guys are crazy, what are you doing? And I was really happy. So the car was, it was just really crappy. So we found out that the car was really crappy, so we have to adjust everything and put new plates on and repaint it. And well, in the meanwhile, we were making like a rooftop and a good slide. And in the meanwhile, we turned this parking space. We want to make 3 sandboxes, so we put there are 3 sandboxes, and we wanted to also make that children in a wheelchair can come in, so they can drive safely. So in the end, we were working day and night because we only had 1 month. So one guy was spraying, other was sanding, and we're using all kinds of tools. But I think in the end, the end result was quite nice. So here you see the car. And you can go in the back with a wheelchair. So we got some vuvuzelas on the roof, so you can horn. We made this miracle around, so the children, even with the broken leg, can sit on there and play around. So you see the overview, and also a rooftop, so you can climb on top, and you can have a fireman pole slide. And it was quite funny that even the guys who were working at the hospital, they never played in the playground. They're also really happy. Thank you.
So the reason why we are in Taiwan is to give a workshop, and we arrived last Sunday, and we did a workshop last Saturday, and we were really interested in, like with my project with plastic, I was really into recycling the material, so we don't need a new material. Luc was really interested in reusing his, like the old car he used in his playground. He reused the old car, and so he didn't have to buy a new car. And one thing we both really interested in is repairing things, because if we repair something, we don't have to throw it away, or so it doesn't end up in the landfill. It's sort of a step above the other two. First, if something is broken, you repair it. If you can't repair it, you reuse it and then recycle. So. We were interested in repairing things, and we used to do this like a couple of years ago, especially like in Europe, you can't really repair things anymore. Like the old shoemaker, they start disappearing, and we really like this craftsmanship of repairing products, and people still repair things, like making a new wheel on your car, or if your couch is broken. Or, so there are many different ways to repair, but we don't necessarily think these are good solutions. So what often happens is that all this broken products ends up in the landfill or something, because some part is broken, so we think, okay, that's it, let's just throw it away and buy a new one. And we're interested in what if we are proud to repair. So we not just repair it, but we also think, yeah, I repaired, that's cool, and you can really see that it is repaired. So for instance, we really like this lamp. So it was a standard lamp, but it broke, so the guy fixed it, and he gave it a little wheel so we could easily turn it. And we really like to see that you can actually see he put effort in it and he repaired the product. Or like these plates, you could repair them that you don't see that it was broken, but now you can really see it was a crack, and they really emphasized it with color, and they're proud they repaired it. Or a wall with a hole inside, and the common thing is to put new bricks in it or something like that, but this one is repaired with Lego, so you could actually see this was broken, but now it's repaired.
So we went to look at your guys' junk. So we went with Irene to a place to find where all the stuff is ending. Irene, where is it? It's somewhere in... So we found out there were some quite interesting things we found there. So we went to look around, find some products people don't use anymore. So we found this broken pot and a broken basket, and so we took it all, put it in a taxi, went to our workshop. So the next day we were looking for materials. So we found a creative way how you can repair those things. We don't want to give the people of the workshop too much material because we want to use them in their creativity. So we only gave like rough materials like wires and wood and all other kinds of stuff. So we actually set it up a workshop. So the idea was first that we photograph the product, and then people can work on it. So you see the tools we had.
And one interesting thing, what we also really liked, is that to use 3D printer. So it's a really new technology, and we really like that for 3D printing you can just see like a part of a product is broken. You can just make a 3D drawing, print it, and it takes about 2 hours, and then you have the spare part of the product. So the guys from XYZ Printing, they set up 5 printers for us. And so people came, for instance, and a fan was broken and they needed like a new spare part. So we just made the drawing, printed it out, and we could really quickly fix it.
So the first thing what we did, we just put in all the materials there, and people were like, am I at the good workshop? Or so they were quite surprised that we're going to work with these old materials, because they still were thinking that it was junk. So and after that they have to set up a team, so together they will look like what kind of things they found interesting and which they want to repair. So some took a basket, some took some other stuff. So for instance, this got a broken piece of card. And first we want to let them think about how can they use all the materials to repair this thing, or maybe use it 3D printed. First it was important that the nice thing about repairing is that you can make it personal, so you don't have to make it in the exact state, you can make it like in the way you want, in the way you like. So first that was quite interesting.
So the workshop itself was just a lot of tools and materials, and people had all the freedom to repair the products in the way they would like to have it. So they really started from sketching and analyzing what is the problem, why is this broken, can I fix it, how can I fix it, and perhaps maybe upgrade it or make it even better than it was before. And for instance, here is a 3D printer. They had to make a part because the guys were making a lamp and they needed some part, but they couldn't make it by hand. So we made a technical drawing and we just printed it out. And so here is like a couple of minutes later, he is assembling it. They were building a lamp. So it's the blue thing is printed out.
So in the end, we have a couple of examples from the beginning and the end of the workshop. So there was this girl found in the trash this broken pen, and she wants to upgrade it. And it was not about make it really designy or more beautiful. It was just more about making it personal. So even if we didn't like it, if she likes it, that was the important thing, right? So she wants to make it personal. So she ended up with this. They used a 3D print thing on the side to connect a new handle. And she made it blue with waves, what she liked.
Or this badminton racket where the wires were broken, which was useless now, so was thrown away. And so they made two. For instance, the one they made a bamboo handle to hold it because it was broken, and the other one she wired up the inside again so you could use it again. And she also added this red thing so she could easily see and hit the target. And this was a broken, well, we're not actually sure what it was. We think it was some sort of card. So they gathered some wooden materials and they turned it into a new card so they could use it again.
So the next one were some guys who found this old lamp, which it didn't have a wire anymore, so it couldn't work. So we asked them if they could find a creative way to make it usable in some way. So they had quite some interesting solutions. So they just painted blue. On the top part you see a 3D print. They covered all the things with wood. And it's nice because they found out that you can put your iPhone in and put the lamp on so you can use it again. And that was a nice thing that we used, like the 3D printing. Yeah, you can make it in the way you want. So it was really fast, like in 1 hour this project or this 3D print was already finished.
This one, what's the name in English? Do you know?
Does somebody know what this is?
I think to look really far.
Yes, one-pointing.
Anyway, this one was also broken, so we needed to assemble them back together again. So we made a little drawing, the orange thing, which is a 3D print, and we used it to glue the parts back together again, and they added some yellow cover around it because they really liked it. They didn't like the completely red.
So in the end, it was nice to see that all the participants made the ways that they found, they made it important to themselves by adding the things that they wanted. So we didn't have any influence what they should do. They were like, I want this yellow, I want this like this. So I think that was quite nice about the repairing, that you can make it in the way you want. And
they also had solutions we would never have thought of, and at least not as quick as them. So like the iPhone thing was a pretty clever thing. The iPhone lamp. He also used it so he could make selfies, he said. So he could turn it around and then he could make a selfie. So it was quite interesting to see what people can come up with.
Yeah. That's it.